Violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right,
what is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful protest? No, it's not, but you say it is.
Hey guys, PayDroV here. So there's a few things I want to cover in this video. The election and what will happen after. We've seen how markets across the world are covering up what they claim to be non-essential items.
Rick, the fuck is off. Takes fucking clothes, mate, a disgrace. Come into winter now, look at that. It's a fucking disgrace. All we need to do is go inside and take them off.
This is part of controlling the way things are being run. We've also noticed soldiers and National Guard protecting food banks, delivering food to people. This is to slow down the real food shortage that will come and affect everyone.
Study by UT found 32% of students don't have enough food or they don't have the right food. This is often called food insecurity.
It's something many of us take for granted, a bag of groceries. For many college students, they're bags of relief.
William Chapman and his partner Patricia ran out of food this summer.
I'm sorry, you said you were eating crackers?
Yeah, for a couple days.
It's not much, but it's better than nothing.
It's a little substance, it's cheap, and it's filling to a point.
Like a lot of seniors, they're on a fixed income, and it doesn't go very far.
The steady rise in the number of new statewide coronavirus infections is stoking fears of an even greater increase as we head into colder weather. New Jersey's 3 largest food banks are bracing for the worst, stockpiling pantry staples in anticipation of a second wave.
Food shelves are struggling to keep up because of COVID-19.
It may feel like deja vu when you head to the stores. There are concerns that people might be hoarding supplies because of another coronavirus resurgence and the uncertainty of the upcoming election.
Civil unrest, riots, chaos, law and order, as I mentioned in my last video, and how it is all planned before and after the election.
You're seeing businesses in places like DC and around the country, in terms of places like Walmart, already taking precautions, sort of just assuming this is going to happen. And I think especially if Donald Trump is reelected, that likelihood of violence continues to rise. So I think, unfortunately, this is a scenario that a lot of major cities around the country are going to have to contend with for the 2020 election. If you go on social media, you can see that there are plenty of groups, especially here in DC, that are already planning, regardless of who wins, of committing social unrest with very detailed maps and targets and plans of actions. And it's very unfortunate. But I think, again, 2016 was a turning point, and we're going to continue seeing that in 2020.
Now, in a lot of these countries, they cannot defend themselves like we can in the US.
There is no need to have weapons of war in civilian hands.
People in America will not, like Australia, give up their guns.
The issue of gun control is a weapon in itself, right at the heart of American politics since the very beginning. These days, it's as much about money and power as it is about saving lives. Increasingly, it's a debate with global impact.
Now we know about the lockdowns and the testing sites they are setting up around the world. We see it everywhere, but now we see them doing large-scale operations that will involve the military in some places. Here's a recent story from Liverpool, United Kingdom. Everyone in Liverpool will be tested for COVID-19 as armed forces arrive to launch first whole city testing operation. Around 2,000 military personnel will arrive in Liverpool, and they will conduct a huge testing operation.
We will begin a program of mass testing, and we're beginning, as you may have seen, in the great city of Liverpool, and with the help of voluntary organisations, with the help of local authorities in Liverpool, with the help of the armed services and others, we'll be rolling out mass testing.
And in other places, the people are so compliant, they won't need the military, like in some places in China. In one area, they recently covered over 4 million people being tested, And it says here, China tests 4.7 million in just 3 days.
One single asymptomatic case of COVID-19 set off this mass testing program on Saturday in China's Xinjiang province. Within 3 days, the region's entire population, that's 4.7 million people, is expected to be covered.
Sometimes these things will involve false positives, and we don't know if these tests have been contaminated beforehand. Always be cautious and just be aware.
Went there, morning, took about 5 minutes for the whole process, swiped. 24 hours later, you get the emailed results, find out, you're positive for COVID-19. They sent out another email asking you for your verification, and then all of a sudden the results changed. And it said you're negative, test results were negative.
Now, another thing to point out, Walmart removes their guns and ammo from their floor displays amid unrest.
Unrest in Philadelphia is prompting Walmart to remove guns and ammunition off the sales floor in select states. We saw some bullets scattered on the floor of a Walmart that was looted in Port Richmond earlier this week. Walmart says it does not know when the products will be back on display.
Walmart has just confirmed that it has removed guns and ammunition from all of the floor displays at all of its stores across the United States.
And this was from what was going on in Philadelphia.
Well, we're hearing tonight from Philadelphia Fraternal Order of Police President John McNesby. He's calling on city officials to support officers in the department.
We're calling on the city leadership to release the facts of this case. It's not hard. It's cut and dry. Release what you have, support your officers, back your officers, and let's get a handle on this thing.
McNesby made that video on Aramingo Avenue, the site of looting last night. He told officers that they have the support of the entire country.
This is all making way for the programming of civil unrest to display during the day of election. And for the future, they are deliberately staging this through an organized process.
News Force cameras also capturing more businesses boarding up ahead of Election Day.
And we've also learned the National Guard is preparing to deploy in several states ahead of Tuesday as concern over possible civil unrest intensifies.
Most of the shelves should look like that, and you can see they don't.
Hectic is the word Mark Campbell uses to describe business over the last several months at his store, Mid-America Arms in Afton. He says sales have tripled since last year, with many buyers being first-time gun owners.
It's firearms, ammunition, pretty much anything associated with a firearm. It's been extremely hard to get in short supply.
Ammunition is selling so fast, Campbell posted signs around his store letting customers know they're limited to 2 boxes per visit. He attributes the spike in sales to 3 factors.
The COVID, the unrest earlier in the spring, and then with the election coming up.
Concern over what could happen after the election is motivating some businesses to board up.
This is all about compliance and controlling the population through every aspect.
Police will check that anyone out on the street has a good reason to leave home.
Adding, if you test positive, you will receive a phone call. And if you don't answer, a police officer will deliver a health authority order to your home to make sure you comply.
And we need to deliver those, and those are legally binding because we need to control the spread of the disease. And the only way that we can do it is by enforcing now the isolation and quarantine orders that we need to give to those individuals that are positive.
Now their subliminal programming here would be guns. They're coming for the guns, and they have done this all around the world, so you can't defend yourself when this comes knocking on your door.
This year, there's only 3 gun control-related amendments on ballots across the entire country. All of them involve trying to prevent government from implementing future gun control laws, and 2 of them are on the ballot in Alabama. 1 is in Montana.
Every day, young children are being dropped off at schools that are virtually wide open, soft targets for anyone bent on mass murder.
A group of Trump supporters caravanning from Eastern High School to the Expo Center. That group was met by protesters at the school trying to keep them from leaving, with some people on both sides bringing guns.
We have to harden our schools, not soften them up.
A pro-Trump rally that started here at Eastern High School Sunday led to a confrontation that had some people wondering why firearms were allowed here on school property.
Your Second Amendment will be eliminated and your firearms will be confiscated, whether you like it or not.
shouldn't hinder law-abiding citizens from being able to arm themselves for the safety of their families and homes.
But even so, they are much ahead of our guns via technology. This is all part of the plan, but it is not what matters directly because there's no doubt the war is coming from a physical standpoint, and a spiritual one is the most important one to really be involved in because the spiritual battle goes much deeper than what we see. So with that being said, have faith, remain vigilant, and God bless you all.
But they want to completely eliminate these people because they do stand in the way of the agenda. There are too many people that are waking up. It is way too many for them to handle.